Hello and welcome to the Reykjavik Grapevine Newscast. I'm Poppy Askham and we are in fjord. Hopefully I said that right, probably not. But it's a lovely cemetery in Reykjavik, and it is one of the greenest spots in Reykjavik as well. Lots of trees, which is very, very rare for Iceland. And it's also a very rare sunny day. Summer has finally returned. So yeah, we're gonna go for a walk. Okay, so we have to start with coronavirus, of course, because that is the biggest news out there. And there's actually been quite a few developments since we last talked. So last time you joined us on Laugavega talking about nightlife and the gathering ban, and there has been a new development in that news story. So we now know that for sure on August 4th there will be a change in the gathering ban. 1,000 people, well, groups of up to 1,000 people will be able to gather, and also bars will get a whole extra hour of opening time, so they can stay open until midnight. So those are the two changes that are coming on August 4th, just after Merchants Weekend, which is a very big bank holiday here in Iceland. And the chief epidemiologist said that he delayed this for a little while because of 2 domestic infections, but now I think that it's okay to go ahead with it. So that was announced yesterday. Interestingly, actually the chief of police has sort of criticised this decision in a way, saying that making bars all close at midnight, all have the same closing time, means that you get these crowds appearing on the street when people are at their drunkest at the end of the night. So obviously not much social distancing, and also there's problems with people queuing for taxis, getting on public transport. And as you saw when we were walking through Laugavega, you know, nightlife is not dead. There are lots and lots of people out on the streets. So I don't know if that will cause any change in the policy. I doubt it, but it's something to consider. Also, if you've ever got public transport at night in Iceland, you'll know that Strætó gets a little more difficult at night because just there's less buses. So there may be a change to the bus timetable to have later buses in line with this new change. So yeah, that is one piece of news. The other really big thing this morning was when the numbers on the COVID.is website updated at 11 this morning, it is Friday currently, there were 2 domestic infections. So these are the first domestic infections since July 2nd. So 3 weeks, no domestic infections. Now we've got 2 in the space of 1 day. We don't know if they're interlinked. We don't have much information about them. We do know that one of them attended a sports tournament over the weekend. I think it was athletics. And so 30 people are in quarantine in connection with that one case. So that is quite a lot of people. There are currently 108 people in quarantine. Yesterday there were 76. Today there are 108. So we can guess that that increase largely comes from those 2 cases. So that has brought the incidence rate up to 2.5 per 100,000 in the last 14 days. That's actually a new statistic that they've added to the COVID.is website. So that makes it directly comparable to other European nations. We are amongst the lowest in Europe, you know, Finland, Estonia, Malta, they're still beating us, but we are amongst the lowest. And it is good to have this new statistic that we can compare to other nations. But the other change with the COVID.is website, in my opinion, is much less positive, and that is that they are only going to be updating the website twice a week. So that is Tuesdays and Fridays. Until until now, there has been daily updates, and that has been all the way since March when it launched. So this is a big change. I mean, as a journalist, I don't like anything that stops me getting more information, but in my opinion, the COVID.is website has been one of the best things about Iceland's approach. Just having a centralised source of information that is so regularly updated, so detailed. You at certain points you can find out male, female, foreign, domestic, all these different statistics, where they were coming from, how people were getting infected. So it was really important. And coming from the UK, where we just don't have a centralised system, it was so difficult to know what was going on, to have faith in politicians, in policy decisions. But having the transparency that COVID.is/data provided has been really important. And so yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that they have decided to change this. I mean, it is a resources decision. I assume it must take a lot of resources to keep on refreshing those numbers, because yeah, we have hospital numbers, quarantine numbers, active infections, isolation. There is a lot of data to look at. But yes, so that is one thing. The other change that was brought about in a press briefing yesterday, which will be the last press briefing for the summer that's scheduled unless anything big happens. So the second change is a change to do with borders. And so the border screening, previously you would get texted when you got your results, you'd be texted whether you tested positive or negative. So when I did it, I got it in about 8 hours, and I sat in my flat and I didn't have any food. I was just waiting to get my results. I was really hungry, and I was just waiting until I got the results, because I didn't know if I had coronavirus or not. But now they're going to not tell you if you tested negative. It's just after 24 hours, you can assume that if the health authorities haven't got in contact with you, you tested negative. They're only letting positive cases know. So I think that could possibly have a negative impact in the fact that tourist travellers are less likely to want to self-isolate for the full 24 hours rather than 8 hours or whatever it would have been before. But again, it is a question of resources, especially with Decode pulling out. There is more strain on the National Health Service, and they're testing around 2,000 people a day, which is an awful lot, and they have been struggling with that. So this is just another way that they are trying to lessen their workload. We'll see what impact it has. We'll see how much controversy it causes, but yeah, it just makes things a little more difficult for travellers, possibly. On the borders front, there have been around 70,000 people arriving in Iceland since June 15th, which I think is a huge amount. Of those, 50,000 have been on commercial flights, 26,000 have been on ferries, and 4,000, which again seems like an awful lot of people, have been on private jets. So 51,000 samples have been taken, and we have had 20 active cases, quite a few old infections, but 20 active cases that have been isolated and, yada yada, gone through all that process. So yes, the final bit of COVID news, I promise, is the COVAX program. So the World Health Organization has launched the COVAX vaccine project, and around 80 countries have expressed interest in it, and Iceland is one of them. Iceland is going to participate. In terms of cost, they are looking at around 700 million ISK to vaccinate 20% of the population, sort of working on the ballpark figure of 5,000 ISK per dose and 2 doses per person. There's been lots of discussion about who would get the vaccines, whether it be the most vulnerable, whether it be younger people, the elderly. All those questions still to be answered, but it is a positive step forward, I guess. They are aiming for a vaccine by the end of 2021. So we can hope that goes well. So now we have covered everything coronavirus. We can move on to some more light-hearted news. And we are going back to the Let It Out campaign, the ingenious yellow boxes in the middle of the Icelandic countryside where people from around the world can scream into their computer and get it played out into the West Fjords or Vidi Island, all these different locations. Anyway, it's one of the most unpopular advertising campaigns in a long time for Promote Iceland amongst Icelanders. I've just heard so many people over the last week just saying, what the hell is this? Why are we doing this? But it has got a lot of media attention, so they're doing their job. But the new controversy is they are getting a copyright claim from British artist Marcus Lyle. So Marcus Lyle had launched his art project in June. Just a reminder, the Icelandic one was in July. So on June 16th, Marcus Lyle launched Scream the House Down, which is another art project where you scream through Zoom and it powers a light installation in an office block in the UK. So that, quite a similar idea in terms of the screams, stress relief. This is a lovely statue whilst we're here. It really is one of the prettiest cemeteries in Reykjavik. But anyway, so the interesting thing is he worked with MC Saatchi, which is the advertising company that Promote Iceland has been using. So he's worked with them before. He also first talked about this idea, something similar to this idea, in 2013. But Promote Iceland is still saying the timeline doesn't work because they started planning this in mid-April, and so couldn't have known about Marcus Lyle's June exhibition. But we'll see how that stands up in court. It is a very interesting development to a very bizarre story. Anyway, on to the next piece of news, and that is there is an oil spill in Seydisfjordur, which is a little northeastern harbour town. Lots of ferries come in there. If you're travelling to Iceland by ferry, you'd probably end up there. And so there is a World War II British tanker, an oil tanker, that is wrecked on the bottom of the fjord and is leaking oil. It's really causing lots of harm to the environment, the bird life, and has been doing so for 75 years, since it was sunk in 1944. It was sunk after a German air raid during World War II. So the British had a sort of not a naval base, but they had lots of ships in Iceland at the time, and this was one of the wrecks. So the reason it's in the news, because it has been leaking sporadically for 75 years, the reason it's in the news this week is because there was a 38 million ISK, so 240,000 euros project to stop the leak, and that happened around 2 months ago. The environmental agency gave the Coast Guard a whole bunch of money to try and fix this problem, and they filled the hull of the tanker with cement, and they put in a valve as well so you could get the oil out. But we all thought, great, end of the problem. It wasn't the end of the problem. It is leaking again. So residents of Seydisfjordur, sorry about my pronunciation again, they've spotted oil on the top of the fjord, so they contacted the Coast Guard, they sent divers down, and a different tank is now spilling. So they're going to be looking at patching up that spill. Hopefully they'll be able to do that soon. But it just proves how difficult this whole operation is. This isn't the first time they've tried to fix it. There has been, I think, one in the 90s, in the early 2000s. They've tried to extract all the oil. They've now tried to fill it with cement, but it is a very difficult issue. There's also explosives still on the tanker, so if they exploded, it would be a massive oil spill. And in summer, when the temperatures of the waters rise, it causes more corrosion, which causes more oil spills. So that is one to watch. I really hope that is sorted very soon. So yeah, that is everything we've got time for this week. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Check out our shop as always. We've got some very cool bomber jackets and sweaters. I actually got my own sweater this week and I've been wearing it all the time. Absolutely love it. So yeah, check it out. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.